All right, YouTube. I know none of you would do this, but people who don't watch this channel, they make mistakes sometimes. So here's our fact pattern today. So you've compared forced overtime to slavery. Let's discuss how that's deeply problematic. Okay. Um, where do we start? Forced overtime is frustrating, messes with your schedule, and can be really hard. And there are certain professions that are protected from forced overtime, like nurses in many union jobs in certain states. Slavery in the U.S. system that was practiced here for far too long is the practice of a human being owning another human being, owning them to such an extent that they can force them to work, they can kill them, have them killed, they can force them to breed, they can take their children, they still own their children, and they can sell that person, and they can engage in brutality of unspeakable lengths and cruelty and horrors, just some of the most horrific things possible are legal and encouraged and practiced under what was the U.S. practice of slavery, right? And I specify the U.S. practice of slavery because slavery has taken different forms and had different rules in different cultures and different nations over the course of history. So we are talking about slavery as it was practiced in the United States because this channel deals with employment laws in the United States, and the people being discussed in this scenario are people living in the United States. So let me first say, I don't love forced overtime. I don't love that your employer can make you work overtime. As an employee, I've never shied away from overtime. I've been excited for it. I love me that time and a half. But I understand that people have plans, families, other responsibilities, other jobs, and forced overtime is a nightmare for all of that. So yes, when you're posting on the internet about how mad you are about forced overtime, I am with you. I support you. I can't bring a case for that because in most of the country at most of the time, forced overtime is generally going to be illegal. But I support you in an emotional sense. Think of me as the useless wind beneath your wings when it comes to being angry about forced overtime. But if you're posting on social media comparing forced overtime to the practice of U.S. slavery, which we just described, you may notice there are certain differences. If you don't notice there are certain differences, you might be a bad person. If you post on social media or say to other human beings that your forced overtime, let's call it 10 hours a week, is akin and equal to slavery, do not be surprised if coworkers bring claims against you, because what you're saying is either incredibly racially insensitive or it's actively racist. And now this is probably where you're going to say, no. The Irish and the Italians, they were slaves too. Okay, like, yeah, you can go ahead and make that historical distinction if you want. It's not going to do you any good when claims are brought against you, because judges and juries are going to look at you and the comments you're making, and they're going to think you are dumb as fuck and a piece of shit. I do. That is what I think of you when you post that. So don't post it. Don't say it. If you can, try not to think it, right? False equivalency helps no one. Doesn't help you. No one reads that post and they're like, yeah, this forced overtime is bad news. No, they read that post and they say, that's not, those two things aren't the same. This is not an effective means of conveying your message. It is not. Not an intelligent way to go about this. It is not a goal-oriented solution. You are not winning hearts and minds, right? I urge you, don't do it. Just don't do it. Be better. Be better. Like and subscribe. Helps me to help more people just like you.